Welcome to Beauty Business Matters. I'm Susan Routledge, your host, and this is a very exciting episode where I interviewed David Alpert from IIAA and Environ. The company's been going for 30 years now, and we just chatted through so much. This episode slightly longer than what we normally do, so it's just shy of an hour. But what we do is we talk through from where the company actually started, where I always like to think every business started with just a dream and one client, but their journey, Tracy and David's journey through our industry to where they are now is absolutely amazing. We also talk through what David sees it's great with brilliant companies in our industry, and also as well where he sees our industry going to in the next year. So I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. David, thank you so much for giving your time up and coming over to record. We were just saying earlier on, I think it's about 20 years since I opened up an Environ account with my clinic. And obviously, I know now we do some work together and things, but I just find the journey of where your company has come to now. And I know a little bit about where it started, but wow, what a journey. So, David, could you first of all tell me, were you and Tracy entrepreneurial before all of this started, or did it all just happen by accident?
Well, Sue, firstly, thank you for having me, and thank you for all the excellent work that you've been doing in the industry.
Thank you.
To raise a profile and really create a community. And it's something, you can be very proud of.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you. But so where did it all begin? Well, actually, it's an interesting question, because as one of the larger companies in the industry today, many people think of us as a corporate and view us, talk about us as though we are sort of a big ugly monolith of a company. But the reality is we're still entirely privately owned by Tracy and I. It's a family business. It's run as a family business. We like to think of the people that work there as part of the family, and the people that we work with externally, like yourself, as part of our community. It all started more than 30 years ago when Tracy and I were kids. And really, straight out of university, we came over to the UK because I refused to be drafted into the South African Army.
Wow, right.
And both of us arrived, as young, very naive kids on these shores, with no money, just about, and set up. We set up separate companies. Tracy actually set up this one. I set up another one in the infants nursery industry, and when I say no money, I mean I remember taking Tracy. She'd never been to England before, taking her to Harrods, and just this wow spectacle of Harrods. And actually, the only thing we could afford to buy was a chocolate chip cookie.
Oh, I love that.
And so literally, we really began from nowhere in the little back room of our flat.
So was that in London? Did you come into London straight away?
Yeah. It was in London. We had a tiny little flat in Belsize Park, and there was a minuscule room at the back, and that's where Tracy started the business.
So how long ago, when you were in South Africa, at what age did you two meet?
So we met at university.
Okay.
I was 19. That's, we'd been going out for a few years. And we decided to come over to the UK together, forge a new life.
Wow. So you came over. Tiny flat. Did you know anyone, or did you just...
No, so that was the interesting thing. We'd come out of a community in South Africa where we knew everyone.
Yeah.
Anything you wanted done, you had connections to a big, wide world. The UK was pretty much in recession at the time. It was under John Major, just coming out of the recession of the early 90s. But things were pretty down. And it was a really big wake-up call for us. Yeah.
Did you question whether you'd done the right thing, or did you know you had?
Well, no, we certainly didn't know we had. Tracy used to make me promise at least once a week for the first 5 years that we'd go back to South Africa. and life was tough. It was very, very difficult, starting from scratch, as you say, not knowing anyone, and trying to build 2 new businesses.
Wow. So at what point because obviously Environ was the skincare, which obviously they have grown that brand hugely. So Tracy's business was Environ Skincare.
Okay,
yes?
Yeah, so that's an interesting point, because no, it wasn't actually.
Wow.
Tracy was in the wine industry, and think how much more fun we'd be having now, Sue, if she'd stuck with that. But no, she started for a year. She was in the wine industry, and because she had spoken to Environ about distributing Environ here, but they had someone at the time, a friend of Dr. Fernandez, and that person didn't actually do anything with the brand. And after Tracy had been here for a year, they sort of turned around and said, listen, if you want it, you can have it. I'm not doing anything with it. I mean, Environ is really, really tiny and very unknown in those days. And Tracy wasn't enjoying the wine business. She found it very male-dominated. And she turned her attention to skincare. And really will be the first to tell you that, Dr. Fernandez was an enormous inspiration.
It still is.
Yes, still is, absolutely.
Such a fantastic.
But what a visionary, because it was in a time where there was an explosion of young, talented people leaving South Africa, moving around the world. But it was a very, very different world back then. And what many people can't really imagine was the world before we had the internet, before we even had mobile phones. And we used to communicate with South Africa via fax machine. But what used to happen is when a distributor used to ask Dr. Fernandez a question about skincare, he had the foresight to write out the answer, but fax it to all the distributors. Almost like one would CC people today on an email. And that's how Tracy learned in the early days about skincare from an absolute visionary. And it was incredible. We've still got some of the faxes. Or we've still got all the faxes, actually, but they're not very readable anymore. Faxes fade with time. But it was absolutely incredible. So that's where it started. And I was looking from the outside in, but I could certainly see that here was a product that was a disruptor in the respect that in those days, the industry was absolutely dominated by the big French skincare brands.
Yes.
And there was very little focus on efficacy. And what was so different about Environ was that it was very much evidence-based. And it was all about empowering the skincare professional to deliver results.
Yeah.
And it was a very, very different and very exciting philosophy.
Yeah. So obviously Tracy had the distribution. How then did she get it out into the market? As I say, not knowing anyone really in the UK kind of thing, and coming as an unknown brand as well. How did that, it can't have been easy to start with, I shouldn't imagine.
No, absolutely not. It took a lot of guts and determination. And she hit the pavement and started going from door to door to salons to create her very early small community of Environ enthusiasts. And we had a little Vauxhall Corsa that she used to drive up and down the country in with her red AA road map on her lap. And I remember going down to King's Cross late in the evening sometimes to pick her up. And goodness, what a different place King's Cross was in those days. And yeah, that's how it was. I remember her traveling all the way up to Banff in North Scotland to do a training. Wow. And, you know, the lady up there had a very, very strong Scottish accent. And Tracy had, of course, her South African accent. I'm not sure either of them understood a word each other was saying. But those were the early days, you know, how she started the company.
This is what I absolutely love. You know, I always say, you know, everyone just started with like this dream and that one first customer. And then it's just what happens from there, isn't it? And it's like all the trials and tribulations, turns and things. And I think, you know, it's very easy to see when you're at the shows or whatever, you know, you see these like big companies like yourselves and you just like, it's just so lovely to know the story behind it. All those like, you know, jumping in a car and just like having some products in a car, you know, it's just total credit to you guys, you know, because I'm sure at some points you probably thought about giving up.
Well, certainly wasn't easy, and we often joke that, you know, we've been a 30-year overnight success. And it took a lot of hard work, sweat, and tears. But in the end, you know, we could see that we were making progress. We could see that things were going in the right direction. And there's been lots of ups and downs over the last 3 decades. But I think, you know, where we've arrived and what we have today is testimony to the hard work, testimony to the amazing people that have joined us along the journey, both in the company and externally. So the very first person that Tracy employed, Lorraine, is still with us in the company today. And you'll know Lorraine, of course, who you know, plays a major role in so many of the great things that we do, and all the events that we organize. And so it's been a challenging journey, but it's been a really wonderful one. And you know, what it's done is it's forged a very strong bond between Tracy and myself through working through adversity, and it's created strong bonds with, you know, many of our team members and many of our clients. And it's so heartwarming to go to some of these events and you have people join us like yourself who've been working with us for more than 20 years and hear the results that you're delivering and hear the changes you're making to people's lives. And that in itself is very, very rewarding. Yeah.
So at what point did you come into the company then?
So I started this business in infants nursery, and I had some early breakthroughs this will take you back. You know, they didn't, as I said, there was no internet, but in those days people had the internet through their letterbox in the form of big catalogs. Do you remember Freeman's catalog and the likes?
Grattan's
Yes, yeah. So all of those I broke into in the early days, and as a result managed to make quite a bit of progress with the business. And after a year I sold it to I was doing the softs, so the furnishings. But again, it was enormously challenging. I mean, try launch a business the year that the midwives turn around and say that, you know, cot deaths are due to cot quilts and bumpers. I mean, it was challenging. And so we fortunately had breakthroughs. And I sold it to someone who was doing the hards, so the prams and the pushchairs, after a year. And then I worked for them for 4 years. But if I have to be honest, we didn't necessarily see eye to eye. It's not something I've spoken about much publicly before. But he was very much a pile them high, sell them cheap. And as you'll know from working with us, we're very much about brand building.
Yeah.
And after working there for 4 years, we had our first child. And when he was 5 months old, I left that business and joined Tracy. At that point, she kicked us out the flat. And so we rented our first little room. And it was myself, Lorraine, and all the stock in this tiny little room. with no income and a 5-month-old baby, which of course wasn't at all stressful. And yeah, that's so that was in 1999. That's when I joined Tracy. So she had the one employee who was Lorraine at the time, and yeah, that's how it started.
Wow. And what I absolutely love about you guys and the whole company is that, obviously you've been to your beautiful premises and they're absolutely gorgeous. But it is like a family. And I just love that, you come in and you're there working with the team. Tracy's there, the shows, you guys are there, that you're always so personable. It's never been like sort of, right, it's a success now, we'll pass it to everyone else you guys are always there. And I think that is just, it's just so great to see. But, as I say, to know now where it actually all started and came from. I mean, at what point did you sort of start making strides of success kind of thing? Because to start with, it must have just been sort of like coasting along, and then was there at one point where you had business growth, or was it just a very slow growth all the way through?
I think yeah, there were certain ups and downs, I guess, but I think the real turning point for us was the 2008 recession.
Really?
And yeah, it's very interesting because, having started the business ourselves, having never had access to bank finance or anything, we had to scrimp and save. But during that process, we built up a little bit of a war chest. So when 2008 recession came around, and for those who perhaps went in it was a worldwide recession, but it was, if you weren't yet in business, it was pretty tough. It was the longest, deepest recession this country's ever had. Yeah. And things were really difficult. But what we did was the exact opposite of what everyone else was doing. So whilst all our competitors were laying off people, battening down the hatches, we started recruiting. And what we did was I had discovered these big skin analysis machines, the Visium machines, at some of the international conferences that I'd attended. And I mean, they were very expensive. Even in those days, they were about £11,000 a piece. But what we did was we'd buy a car and a Visium machine and a skin analyst. We'd employ a skin analyst, and we'd put them out onto the front line. And they would travel from salon to salon doing something that, to the best of my knowledge, had never before been done in our industry, which was that they'd analyze a client's skin and they'd recommend products. And that in itself wasn't that different. But what we did that was really different is we'd invite that client back in 3 to 6 months later. And when they saw the difference that our products was making to their skin, they firstly became walking, talking adverts for that business. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Secondly, they changed their mindset from a discretionary purchase to an essential. They felt this is something they couldn't do without. The salon owners absolutely loved it as well. And the thing is, we showed that during a downturn, and this I'm sure your listeners will really enjoy. It's very, very pertinent. But during a downturn, what you need to do is show value for money. And value for money has absolutely nothing to do with price.
Yeah, totally.
And so when people saw the difference that our products were making to their skin, they were seeing value for money. And they became very loyal users and really committed. And that during that time, we built up, think of the investment, but we built our team up to 30 people on the road with 30 motor vehicles, 30 analysis machines and so on. And we were out there on the front line helping businesses day in and day out. And actually, sadly, that all came to an end with COVID. But we are actually in the process now, as you might know, that we are putting together that team again. We are rebuilding our team of events people to go into businesses and really help them.
Yeah, and as one of those clinic owners that really benefited from that, I think it was just, like you said, there was nothing like skin analysis then, and to obviously my clinics in a small town, there was nothing like that anywhere around, not even in the cities around where I was. So for us to have that and for someone to come, clients absolutely loved it. But as well, for us as a team of like therapists, to be able to not only, because before that, basically you were talking about skincare, but you were just looking surface. But to have that way, you could show someone in depth, and the clients absolutely loved the fact that they could come back and see the difference, kind of thing. And I think for us, that was really, the turning point, probably, where clients saw the benefit in skincare, and it wasn't just a case of theory. It was actually practical. You could see the difference, and as well, what we loved as well, because you got that bond with the person who was coming in doing the skin analysis, because you guys do employ the most amazing team. And we've always had amazing people come to us. And obviously, when I've been down to the office, it's a long-standing team who you can just see the passion and the dedication. And I think that, all credit to you guys, everyone stays for a long time. But when we've been down, when I've brought Beauty Directors Club down and we've had like days, it's that passion kind of thing. And you don't see that with every company. And I think that is, again, testament to you and Tracy being there and being part of the team and always innovating and moving forwards as well. There's always something new, always something exciting coming out. And is that how you've always planned the company to be?
I wish I could say yes, but I think what's delivered that is an underlying philosophy, and what that is, that philosophy, where that stems from. Every new person that joins the company has a meeting with myself. And in that meeting, I explain who we are. I explain a lot of what we've just discussed already. And I also talk to them about the fact that this is not a dress rehearsal. This is their life. And they have to make the most of it and the most of the opportunity. Their time with us as a company is very much, will be a function of the effort that they put in as to what they're going to get out. Mm. But it's the sort of philosophy that Tracy and I hold, and that's why we are involved to the extent that we are, because we love what we do. And we love the way we're able to change people's lives for the better. And we love the way that the passion of our community and what they're able to do. And that's, business is tough. I don't need to tell you or any of the other therapists in the industry how tough business can be. And perhaps we can get onto that as well, because I think that the work that therapists do is not often recognized within broader society. Mm. But things can be, but when you see, and you'll know, so once a year we have our Salon of the Year awards, and a little while back we introduced Therapist of the Year, and in these awards, which are held in a big 5-star hotel, it's a fantastic glittering lunch, and as part of the event, what happens is we showcase some of the top results that therapists achieve. And again, I'm telling you something that you'll know, but there normally isn't a dry eye in the house.
I know.
Because we asked both the therapist and the client to give a testimonial. So besides seeing these incredible photographs, what you're also hearing is just how you've changed people's lives for the better. And when you can deliver that, then the passion and everything else just flows, because who wouldn't want to achieve that?
Yeah. And I think it to me, and having a team of therapists, it gives them confidence as well to know that, like, well, not only to see the results from some of the great work, but as well to see their own results. You know, I think it takes that sort of what ifness out kind of thing of like, oh, because there is that much science behind the products. There is the training is phenomenal, I have to say. And as well, the support, you know, coupling those all together, it just means that it's, I wouldn't say it's an easy sell, but the thing is, once a client's on that journey with Environ, or with other products as well, the thing is that they want to continue and see the results. The clients want to carry on, and you see the enthusiasm with the therapists as well. It takes away, because, you know, I find very often, and you will as well, that a lot of salons focus on treatments, and it's as if like the home care is like something totally separate, and it's got to be that whole. I always like, you know, to me, if someone's coming in and having certain treatments and not using great skincare, it's going to reflect on us, because they're not going to get the results from the treatments. The treatments, I always like say, you know, 12 facials a year, that's only half a day. You're leaving someone to 364 and a half days themselves to like look after their skin themselves. But having someone on a journey as well with their skincare, it's just phenomenal, you know. And you'll find that as well, that, you know, the salons that are doing really, really well are the ones who are combining the two together. Do you find that?
Absolutely. So we were chatting and you were asking me in terms of, you know, what is the difference or what distinguishes a salon that does really well, or a therapist, skincare professional that does really well. And it's very, very easy. And it comes down to absolutely one thing, and I can almost describe it in one word, and that's prescribing. Because you have, and it's like chalk and cheese, and you can see it immediately in a business and in the results that they have. And it might sound so simple, and yet so few people get it right. And this is what it is. If you try and sell a product to a person, it becomes quite off-putting for that person. And you as the practitioner pick up on that. And so what you tend to do is not sell.
Shy away.
You shy away from selling. And those people are just, those clients are then just left in the wilderness, compared to if you are a skincare practitioner and the expert in the room, and that person has come to you for advice. They are seeking your advice. They are seeking your expertise. Do not for 1 second ever try and sell that person anything. You have to prescribe a solution. And you have to make sure as a business owner that you have the right solutions for those people to prescribe, things that are evidence-based.
Yeah.
So as you know, we have our Feed, Fortify, Finish philosophy, where we treat skin from the inside out with the Advanced Nutrition Program. And then, of course, we fortify it externally with Environ. And then we finish it off with et al., which is our new makeup line. But the combination of those products together, when they are correctly prescribed, as you know, just deliver the most incredible results. And that's when you take your client on that journey with you. That's where you build up trust. And that's where you need to be the expert in the room and prescribe the right solutions. And there's only one way that you can do that, and you've mentioned it now, and that is you have to be properly trained.
Yeah.
And so 100% at those events that we were talking about now, the Salon of the Year events, 100% I can guarantee you that person after person that goes up onto that stage and wins an award is the person who's invested heavily in training for themselves and for their team. And 100%, we have it every day of the week, every week and month of the year. We have people who come to us who say, we want to cut back. We don't want to come for the full training. How can you shorten it? How can you? And very often it's even doctors or whatever it is. So it's akin to, well, 6 years is a long time to study to be a doctor. Why don't you cut it down to 3 years? You wouldn't do it. So this is why investing in training, investing in the time, gives you the knowledge, the experience, and the confidence to prescribe the products correctly and not try and sell to your client, because you won't sell and that client won't buy. And at the end of the day, you mentioned it, you create a journey, and that person needs to stick with you on that journey as you take them through the different levels of the products and you take them through the different phases of improving their skin. And it's just such an exciting journey to be on. And it's just so exciting, both for the client and the therapist to see.
Yeah, because I always like to say, and I always like anyone who's got teams, I would always say this to them, is that you need to have your team so that they are that confident and know their products that well that they can answer any question that the client is either. I always like to say, you need to answer their question before they are thinking why, kind of thing. So, and I always like to say, if you don't know the why, you shouldn't be prescribing that product, because clients are very knowledgeable as well. But the fact that when someone has that amount of knowledge, that they can give a client the why behind and all of the information around it, it's lovely to see that confidence, because a little knowledge doesn't go a long way. It has to be a lot of knowledge, because clients, they're subjected so much on social media now, and the clients are very, very knowledgeable. You've just got to be, but it is being that specialist kind of thing. Yeah. And I think this is where someone goes from being a therapist to a specialist, to me, kind of thing. And that's, I think, more in skincare than, treatments. Yes, you can, prescribe great treatments, but the skincare element and taking someone on a journey that's a real area of specialism.
Well, so quite a few interesting things to unpack there, because everyone needs to start somewhere. And I really emphasize to our new team members that they won't know everything on day one.
Yeah.
And never mind them, but we are continuously learning the whole time, because the whole paradigm of skincare is changing, and how much it's changed over the last 30 years. So not to be afraid that the client is going to ask them something that they don't know, because if they are, they'll never get started on that journey, that long journey of learning and continually updating. But what they need to do, and this is where, I say people's experience is very much governed by their input and the effort that they make, because you need to be passionate about your work and make the effort to learn. And make the effort to stay up to date. And this is where our conferences, our webinars, and all the sorts of things, and especially what you're embarking on, becomes so important, because these are the places where people can go for trusted information. Because you mentioned something else now, that clients are very knowledgeable. Actually, I would say it's the exact opposite. They might think they're knowledgeable. Yes. But unfortunately, the amount of misinformation that's out there, if you think anyone with a cell phone and a bedroom, frankly, feels that they can become a blogger, a vlogger, some sort of skincare expert. Every celebrity thinks that they're some sort of skincare expert and brings out a range of products. And the reality is, unfortunately, a lot of the stuff out there is not very good for your skin. And can actually, in many respects, and even some of the things that are enormously popular, can undo the good work that you as a therapist are doing. And this is where you need to be the expert in the room, and you need to speak from a position of strength, that you know that what you're dealing with, what you've got to offer, is evidence-based. Every single product that we put on the market at IIAA is clinically trialed. I mean, we have the most unbelievable research team. I can tell you every product that we supply, I can tell you before it touches your client's skin what it's going to do. And so we have the most unbelievable emphasis within the team on efficacy and integrity. And unfortunately, we work in an industry that is very often lacking in both of those. And it breaks my heart when I see a good therapist or a good salon take on a technology that we know is going to, unfortunately, not be good for their client's skin. And if that technology was good for their client's skin, we'd probably be providing it ourselves. We're not limited in resources to make fancy machines, but machines that are out there stripping people's skin away. And it's been happening right over the 30 years. Just we've been getting ever more inventive of how to do it. Unfortunately, leads to what might be happy clients initially, longer term unhappy clients, and they, whether they admit it or not, whether they're conscious or not of it, will lose trust in you as their skincare professional. And so this is the challenge. And one of the big things that I see as about skincare professionals like yourself, like your network, like many of the people, many of the clients of the IIAA, is the difficulty in running a business, because it's complex and there's so much noise out there, and you have every bit of complexity that Tracy and I have in running the IIAA, except we've got a team of hundreds of people, and you very often, are on your own to deal with your HR, your finances, your stock control, your, dealing with your clients, your marketing, and everything. So complex business needs with limited amounts of time means you need to be able to rely on a supplier that can really work with you to help you along that way.
Totally. And that's, it can be a lonely place. And I know when we've been doing the Beauty Roundup events at the Professional Beauty at the shows and with Beauty Directors Club as well, you see that it can be quite lonely kind of thing. And I think that is where the support of having a representative who is like sort of, there to support you makes all the difference as well. As I say, it's like, we've all got like our partners and friends and things, but they don't really understand, and they're not always going to give you the best advice. But I think, our industry, I always think collaboration is the way forwards. And, I don't really see competition in our industry amongst salons. I think, every client chooses a salon because of the ethos of that salon, where, we have a salon that's opened right next door to us, and we actually get on really well with them. They have a totally different clientele to us. But I think it's quite nice that, the industry, hopefully we are coming more together kind of thing. There's a big difference, as we all know, in the fully trained, great business out there, and also there's now a lot of these very short courses where someone's just jumping in and thinking that they're an expert from doing a one-day course and things. And there's obviously that's a whole different topic. But where do you see the industry moving forwards to, and what pitfalls do you see happening to?
So That's an interesting question. I mean, we touched on something earlier where really when we introduced the skin analysis and we saw the industry go through a paradigm shift, we moved away from the area of, rest, relaxation and pampering to a new era of efficacy and results. Mm-hmm. And this is what clients are demanding from their skincare professional. If you want to do rest, relaxation, and pampering, you must go into the spa industry, because that's what people are demanding when they go on a spa break. And I mean, I'm talking generally, but in terms of direction of travel, I feel that that's very, very much is true. So you had that paradigm shift back then, 2008 time period, in and around there, where people started to realize that actually what they do to their skin could make a difference. And it wasn't simply hope in a jar, but when I say do to their skin, including this whole notion that actually you have this concept of oral skincare, that actually you could take a pill that will make a difference to the quality of your skin. And so no longer was it, sufficient to do 50% skincare where you apply just your products topically. You needed to have 100% skincare, which was a 360-degree approach on how to treat skin. So we had, over the years, we've had a number of paradigm shifts in terms of, yes, you can deliver results, and then how to get the best results, and introducing oral skincare into the fold and so on. Actually, we're seeing something very, very interesting now. And this is something that I feel will become part of the mainstream in years to come. But we are very, very far ahead of the pack at the moment in thinking along these lines. And it's a difficult message to kind of deliver and get across. But I foresee us going into that space. So let me take you back to the days when we first started the International Institute for Active Aging. For anti-aging, it was called in those days. Now, of course, it's called active aging. And we used to have these huge seminars, you might remember, at the Royal Society of Medicine.
That's
right, they were extremely well attended. And really, it was a certain type of therapist that really wanted to learn. They wanted to take the business to a new level. And we in those days used to talk about anti-aging, and more than just in terms of the skincare realms. We used to invite speakers from all around the world to talk about anti-aging. You may recall. But there were times then when we started talking about things that were enormously controversial in those days, which are just totally accepted now. Things like certain lifestyle factors may determine your risk factors for certain diseases. So if we were to stand up on a stage then and say exercise, diet, smoking, these sorts of things could affect your potential for getting something like a cancer, then that was highly controversial in those days. And yet today, it's just totally accepted. So we were way ahead of our time then talking about it, and it was an exciting time to be talking about these things. But we had to tread very carefully. The new paradigm, where I believe we're going with skincare, is something where the dental industry has actually led for a long time, and with them it is now well accepted that, for example, your oral health, the health of your gums and your mouth, has a direct impact on your internal health and will, for example, be very closely correlated with your risk of heart disease.
Right.
So poor oral health is closely correlated with the risk for heart disease, and that's just accepted nowadays as a given. What we're seeing with skincare is very, very close to that. That whilst we've always looked at skin as an outer manifestation of internal health, and yes, to a certain degree it is. Think of jaundice, for example, where you become yellow from something that's manifesting internally. Actually, what we're now starting to see is the reverse. and that the reverse is also true, that where you have an inflammatory skin condition, it impacts your systemic health, and it will increase your risk of certain of the diseases of aging, things like heart disease, Alzheimer's, and cancers. There's some studies that just came, and where we're starting to glean this is not something that we've just dreamt up out of the blue. We're starting to see more and more studies that are heading in this direction. There was a study recently that came out of China which showed inflammatory skin diseases linked to 6 different cancers.
Wow.
And so what we're starting to understand is that actually the importance of the work that you guys are doing
It has that bigger impact, doesn't
is
it?
vastly underestimated in terms of the impact. And actually that could take me on to another whole realm of discussion, which is the fact that you asked me, we deal with so many different salons. What is it that I see? What do I glean out of that? And what I do glean out of that is the fact that, and maybe it's because of the type of work we do, because this isn't ubiquitous across the industry. What I do glean out of that is a group of people, close to 100% female, who are really passionate about the work that they're doing, deliver unbelievable life-changing results for their clients in so many different shapes and forms, have, for whatever reason, chosen a life path that hasn't taken them down traditional university academic route, and yet, given the nature and the value of what they're delivering, are enormously underappreciated in society.
Yeah.
And so they themselves often do not value the work that they're doing to a high enough level. And I can tell you now, so we are seeing something very, very interesting. Historically, our products, things like the Advanced Nutrition Program and, et al., these are sold by doctors in other countries around the world. But the UK was very slow to come to that, very slow for doctors to actually take on products commercially to pass on to their clients. But with the problems we're seeing in our national health system, with a massive outpouring of doctors who are now looking to get into some sort of private practice, we are seeing a major uptick in the number of doctors entering this area.
Yes.
And yet, we're not. What was very clear for me, and I need to be careful because of generalizing. It's not, of course, every single person in the space, but very often they are not quite as passionate as the therapists about delivering the same level of results, and the care, the attention to detail in terms of the care that they provide and the results that they achieve. And this is where I see you and your network and many of our clients in this space as just being absolutely exceptional, and yet they're not getting the credit for the work that they're doing.
Hopefully that's starting to change, because the thing is, I think it all stems from years ago, doesn't it? I'm just a therapist, I'm just a, where, now those salon owners, those therapists are now skin experts. And the thing is that should be charging their worth. And it's a mindset shift, isn't it? And I think clients, they want to come to experts. I think, and it's quite often it takes a little bit of coercion for someone to actually start to stand up and be recognized for how great they are. But that is where I see salons really standing out and skin specialists really standing out as the experts that they should be. And like we touched on earlier on, you then become price irrelevant because clients to me aren't coming because they want to have a nice facial. Yes, maybe at some point, but clients that come in because they want a result. And it's, there is the element where, someone can come and just relax. But the clients that we see now, and the clients in the businesses that I work with, those clients want results. They want results, and they want to they have those specific needs, and that's what we need to be delivering. And and then I do see then that they do realize that they can charge their worth, and long may that continue and move everyone forwards on that.
So that's what we've just described is 100% what the IIAA is, what we are a conduit towards. But bottling that up and getting that message out, because it's not something we've been terribly good at over the years. We've sort of grown through word of mouth more than anything else, by therapists like yourself that are passionate about the work that we do. But that is our philosophy, and that is our aim. And that's the journey that we've set out upon. Sometimes we are misunderstood. Sometimes certain things happen that take us in a slightly different direction, but we've been very adamant about pulling ourselves back again. And I'll just give you an example. So during the pandemic, suddenly with every one of our clients ordered shut, what we did was we said to people that actually your clients still want the products, and that's when we did the free delivery service F4. Yeah. But very few people used that. You'd be really surprised to know. So as a result, a lot of there were a handful of companies who started selling the products online and did it very, very well. But of course, when the pandemic ended,
that relationship was gone.
There was a difficulty for many of your colleagues in the bricks and mortar, where, as you say, their client relationship had gone. And so what we've actually done over the last couple of years is spent a lot of time and resource actually looking at some of these businesses that grew up in the pandemic, and where their philosophy was no longer aligned with ours in terms of delivering products in the right way and with the right messaging, we closed them down. And that was enormously expensive for us. But we wanted, to my mind, the only company in the industry that's put our money where our mouth is in that respect, actually closed down business, and to support the professional. And as I say, very often things that we do are not well understood by people, and we do sometimes take a certain amount of criticism, and it's difficult to take. But I think over the longer period, people can see that we are committed to the skincare professional, and anything that would cut across that channel wouldn't really last for us. Yeah. So a very sort of definite philosophy that's there, and that's pervasive through everything that we do, and a very strong commitment to actually delivering that. And so, yeah.
And that's why you're still here 30 years later. Mm-hmm. What would you say for the next year ahead? Where do you see things changing in the next year, or do you see that it's obviously we've talked about quite a few things? Is there anything in particular that you see changing massively in the next 12 months?
Yes, I think the next 12 months for us and for the network who we work with will be absolutely pivotal. It'll be a bit of a game changer, and it'll be a very, very exciting period. And the reason I say that is because of two things that I believe will happen. Firstly, I think doing business in the UK is going to get a bit tougher before it gets better. I think the people who are running businesses such as yourself not being helped by the general direction of travel within the economy. And so there will be pressure for people to take a long, hard look at what are the products that they're offering. Are the suppliers that they're working with behind them? Are they seeing I mean, Sue, yesterday I was on the underground with Tracy, and there was a billboard showing one of our competitors at 50% off.
Yeah.
A massive billboard on the tube.
Yeah.
And it was just, you cannot stock a professional line if that's the way it is going to be treated. And the number of lines like that, that are just cutting out the therapist and going direct to the public like that, with that type of messaging, which devalues their brand.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing that will happen over the next year is that many therapists will start to take a long, hard look at their business, and a critical look, because when times get tough, people do look to see what they can implement when in order to affect change. The other thing, and this is more particular to us, and is the fact that we've spent a number of years and a lot of money, millions and millions of pounds, doing certain things that will, over the next 12 months, finally be delivered in a way that I think therapists will absolutely love. So one of them I've already mentioned. We've launched Et al., which is our new makeup range. It has won just about every award. Certainly on paper, it has to be the best makeup in the world. I believe it is in any case. But we've won award after award after award, gold awards. But what we haven't had in place, and what we are now putting in place, is that team of event specialists that can come into your business and help you really deliver that color matching expertise to get the product onto your client's skin. And when they see the product on their skin, they just become committed to the product, and long-term committed to them. And what we have this time round, which we didn't have with our previous makeup line, which we didn't produce, is we have control over the way that product is marketed in the UK. You may remember that there were grey market imports on the previous line, which fell outside of our control. And so this time round, when your clients start to use the product, they'll come back to you and buy it again and again and again, because they will absolutely love it. And we're just seeing this, and we're getting the most unbelievable testimonials. So what happens in the next 12 months is those events people will be on the road, and they'll be coming into your outlet and the outlets of many of the people in your network just to help promote that line.
But funny enough, we just had one of those events last week, and I'll tell you, one of the extra things from doing that as well is not only, like you say, do clients love once they've got that product on their skin, but the other factor is that it's great for therapists as well to watch your professionals talking about the products, because they can pick so much up from that as well. You know, so it takes a lot of the guesswork out, because you can see the reaction from the clients on what's being said to them as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, great all around. David, I think we could chat for hours and hours. Yeah. But this has been fantastic. And as I say, and I think we just scratched the surface. But if anyone wants to get in touch with, we'll put everything into the show notes. And if someone does want to get in touch, thinking about having an account or whatever, then they would just get in touch, and someone would come straight back to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they can go to our website, IIAA, contact us that way, or as you say in the show notes, and let us know. We want to, if you're passionate about the work that you do, and you're passionate about delivering results, we want to work with you. Those are the sorts of people that do well with us, and that thrive, and that take their business, on a fantastic journey, and their clients come along the journey with them. Those are the sorts of people who, if you're listening to a podcast like that, if you're listening to this podcast and that's your approach, get in touch. We'd love to work with you.
Thank you, David.
Super.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sue.